In May of 2015, Becker College, in partnership with the Seven Hills Foundation, signed an MOU with Professor Muhammad Yunus to establish the 15th Yunus Social Business Center in the world and the first in the United States of America. I am eternally grateful and honored to have as our speaker tonight Professor Muhammad Yunus. Professor Yunus fuels our inspiration to graduate students as entrepreneurial, socially responsible global citizens who will create a better world. Professor Yunus is known throughout the world for using small loans, uncollateralized loans available to unlikely entrepreneurs, women in rural and remote communities. Out of his pioneering efforts, the Grameen Bank was founded in 1983. Over the past 33 years, Grameen Bank has loaned over $8 billion to millions of people, mostly women, so that they could start up their businesses. And almost all of those loans have been repaid. I think it's like 99.8%. Give him a hand for that. His pioneering efforts made a quantifiable change in the poverty statistics in Bangladesh. Professor Yunus and the bank were jointly awarded the Nobel Prize in 2006 for creating social and economic development from the bottom up. Professor Yunus is currently using his model of social business and microfinance to make a self-sustaining system of primary health care available to people in underserved communities across the globe. Professor Yunus has been recognized with more than 100 awards from 26 countries. He is one of 7 people in the world who has been awarded the Nobel Peace Prize, the U.S. Presidential Medal of Freedom, and the U.S. Congressional Gold Medal. He has been listed among the 100 most compassionate business leaders in the world by Salt magazine. In 2012, he was recognized as one of the 12 greatest entrepreneurs of all time by Fortune magazine. He is regarded among the top 100 public intellectuals in the world by Prospect magazine. In establishing the 15th Yunus Social Business Center at Becker College in the world and the first in the United States, it gives me great honor to introduce to you Nobel laureate Professor Muhammad Yunus.
What an introduction. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Thank you. Thank you. Wow. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Please, thank you. Thank you. Please have a seat. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, President Johnson, for your introduction. It's a very elaborated introduction. And thank you for inviting me to come to Worcester. You have been to Bangladesh, talking to me and meeting people in the villages. I never had a chance to come back to Becker College. Now I made it. And thank you, David Jordan, for making this possible. Your enthusiasm for social business brought me here. I'm very excited. And thank you for the welcome yesterday with the snow shower. Everybody was so apologetic that it's a snow shower and it's cold in April. I was excited because we were sending pictures home. They have not seen that snow shower like this. We see pouring shower in Bangladesh for the monsoon, but not this one. See, it's such a beautiful way to get in here. And then sending pictures today with the sunshine. Well, everything's white. So thank you for arranging this. Yes, it did. And also all day today, I was very excited meeting people, talking to people, seeing things. And I was almost feeling like a child going into a toy shop. All kinds of toys around, all the things that you can get to and bring it to you to do things that you wanted to do. And then he says about the Yunus Social Business Center in Becker College. I said, I have a shopping cart now. I put all these toys in this shopping cart and then start doing things I enjoy doing, because you have everything that anybody would like to see at the top of the world. You have the healthcare at the top of the world, the ideas and things, and knowledge of healthcare. You have the gaming. It's fantastic power which can change the world, and you have it here. Education, it's the center of all education here. So if you can pick these things up and make it work for the people that we work for in the villages of Bangladesh and many other countries who need this desperately. So any little bits of it can change their world. So that's the link that is created by the center that you are talking about and you're establishing. And that's my shopping cart. I would like to put a lot of these things into that shopping cart and get to doing things. And you mentioned about the Grameen Bank, microfinance, and so on. It sounds like some academic came up with some ideas and wrote a book about it. Actually, I was a kind of a deserter from the academic world because I felt terrible that I teach elegant theories of economics in the classroom and go out of the classroom and you see people dying of a famine, dying of hunger. You talk about people dying and you go, why people die, if it's a diseases or something. This is not disease. This is just simply not having handful of little bit of food. Our major food is rice. You didn't get the handful of rice to eat, and that's why you die. And not one day, not one meal, meal after meal, day after day, and they die because there's nothing left in their life. And this was happening outside. This is back in 1974 in Bangladesh. And you can read about this famine, but when you live in that famine and teach economics in the classroom, you can imagine what kind of trauma it creates for a young teacher. So that's the trauma that agitated me. And I thought all the things that I teach in the classroom is empty, useless thing, beautiful, elegant theories, but makes no sense in the life of the people because you cannot apply them. It doesn't make any sense to those people. When in front of you, they die, you can't lift your finger to do anything. So I said, why am I teaching all those empty theories? Why don't you just get out of the classroom, be with the people in the village next door, and see if you can be of some help to at least one person. Your theory may not work for anybody, but as a human being, you still retain something to share with another human being. It doesn't need any university education for that. Being a simple human being makes you able to do that. So I said, forget about all those. Why don't I go out and do that? That's how the whole spark came, that to leave the campus in a way that you don't believe in it anymore, and to be at the village next door every day, see if you can do something. That was the beginning. And I was trying to see if some way I can do at least something to help one person a day. And sometimes I found something to do, sometimes I didn't find. But I feel good that at least I'm doing something rather than fuming inside, not doing, and seeing this thing happening right in front of your eyes. And then it led me to something else. Terrible loan sharking in the village. I had no idea what loan sharking is. I read about it. It's something you can imagine, but you don't see it in a face-to-face basis. In front of you, something is happening. Then you feel terrible. You feel ugly because you are so helpless. You can't do anything about it. And it's everywhere. It's in Bangladesh. It's everywhere outside the country. So what do you do in front of that? But it's happening right in front of you. You see the person who is the victim of it. You see the person who is perpetrating it. Both sides. You see them both. And you can't do anything to solve this problem. One idea came to my mind. I can do something. Why don't I lend the money myself? If I lend the money, the problem for the person who took the money is solved. he or she doesn't have to go to the loan shark. It's over. And at least I have saved one person from getting victimized by these loan sharks. I didn't wait for second thought. I just started saying that, okay, I give you the money. If you need money, come to me. I'll be here because I'm in the village every day. So you come to me and I'll give you the money. Well, in the beginning, they were puzzled. Why is he going to give the money? Is he another new loan shark coming? I assured them that that's not what I want to do. As long as you pay me back whatever I give you, that's enough. That's nothing else. Gradually, people start coming, and it became very popular. The more I do it, more people want to borrow money from me. And I was always getting the money out of my pocket to do that. And as I did it, several weeks, several months, I feel good because so many people taking money from me. But my money was running out. And I started worrying that what happens if I ran out of my money and I cannot give them the money because it became so popular now. Everybody wants it. And then I thought about going to the bank. I said, this is business of the bank, not me. Why don't we tell the bank people, look, there's a great opportunity here. You can do a good job by lending money to the poor people. And I did tell the bank people. And they were shocked that I proposed such a preposterous thing, lending money to the poor people. They defended themselves that bank cannot lend money to poor people. And I kept on arguing, why not? What's the problem? I do it. It works for me. Oh, you can do it. You go ahead, do it. But bank cannot do it. I got very angry with them. And I started, because it went on for months and months. I cannot persuade them. They cannot stop me. And I became very agitated to make serious complaints about the system, became nasty about them. And I said, banks are very funny because it's an institution which is supposed to lend money to people. But it does it in a funny way. It lends money to people who already have lots of money. Whereas the logic will tell you that it should lend money to the people who don't have money. They laugh. And I can't understand why they laugh. I thought that's a genuine thing. They should lend the money to people who don't have money. But that doesn't solve my problem. But I need this solution because my money is running out. I can only continue with the money that is coming back. I can just lend the money which I got. But I wanted to expand it, not just recycle the same money. So I needed desperately to open the door. So ultimately, I offered myself as a guarantor. Said, I'll be the guarantor. Sign every piece of paper you give me, and you give the money. If they don't pay back, because that's their fear, if they don't pay back, and not if, they don't even have an if. They're absolutely sure they will never pay back. If they don't pay back, I pay you. It took a lot of time for them to accept that, even me as a guarantor. They thought, even he's a guarantor, probably he won't be able to pay back. So why accept it? Finally, they accepted it, and I was very happy. I was merrily signing every piece of paper they give me. Don't even read it, what they're. Do you read your bank's? I don't, yeah. So I just keep on signing, and that keeps the door open. I give the money to people, and amazingly, every penny is paid back. I had no idea, because they were telling me repeatedly, sooner or later, they will stop paying back. They cannot pay back ultimately. This is just a temporary situation that you're seeing. I said, as long as they pay, I will continue. I will not kind of speculate someday they will not pay back. Let me come to that point, then we'll think about it. And they were paying back. So I was amazed. But the bank was getting reluctant to pay the money, to continue, because it's getting so big, they are absolutely sure it will fail, and I won't be able to pay back. It's too big for him. So I got, again, very angry with them. I said, why? Okay, why don't I create another bank just for the poor people? So that thought came to my mind because of the way the banks were behaving. So ultimately, it's a long story. Finally, I persuaded the government, persuaded the central bank to allow me to get a license and set up a bank. And I did it. It started in 1976, lending money to poor people. In 1983, we got the license and we became a bank. called it Grameen Bank or a village bank. And we are so delighted, so happy to expand it, continue to expand it, because it's our own bank, so we don't have to hesitate, we don't have to go anybody. I don't have to put the signature on those guarantee papers. So this is something relief for me that I don't have to do this paperwork anymore. But I was enjoying it, that everything is happening. People ask me, how did you do that? How did you figure out how to lend money to the poor people and get the money back? I said, I just give the money and they paid the money back. So, but you created such a bank, and now it's an elaborate system, very intricate details. Then I thought about it. How did I do that? Then I started explaining, well, it's very simple. Every time I needed a rule or a procedure, since I don't know anything about banking, I just look at the banks, how they do it, conventional banks, how they do it. Once I figure out how they do it, I just do the opposite. And it works. And every bit of Grameen Bank is just the opposite of what the conventional banks do. Conventional banks go to the rich. We decided we go to the poor. Very clear. And we made rules how to get to the poor. Conventional banks lend money to men. We decided to give the money to women, poor women. Conventional banks work in the cities, particularly in the city center. We go into the remote village. Today, we are 40 years old, Grameen Bank. Still, we don't have a single branch in any city, any town in Bangladesh. We still work in the villages. We have 2,600 branches all over the country, not a single one in the city. So we continue to pursue that. We work just the opposite way. Conventional banks ask for collateral. They think without collateral, you cannot create a bank. Banking is impossible. I said, forget about collateral. Collateral is a wall you created so that the poor cannot go over it. So keep the poor out. You invented the idea of collateral so that you can protect your own folks inside. So we said, forget about it. We want to deal with the poor people. We want to reach out to the poor people. They cannot offer any collateral. So why worry about it? So this is something, there is no collateral. And everybody said, can you sleep at night with giving all this money without any collateral, without any papers? I said, I sleep very well. I have no problem. Only my banker friends worry about me, whether my money will come back. They have nothing to do with it, but they worry about me. But I have no problem because I see every money coming back every time. So it's a thing. And since we don't have collateral, we don't have any lawyers in our bank. You see, the whole lawyer thing comes because you have the legal papers to sign, and someday you'll be taken to the court so that you get the money back, get the collateral to get the money back. So since we don't have that, we don't need any lawyer. We're the only lawyer-free bank in the whole world. We have 8.5 million borrowers. We started out with a few dollars as a loan in the beginning. Today, we came a long way. We have 8.5 million borrowers, 97% women, and they own the bank. It's not just a bank. It's a bank which is owned by the poor women. So conventional bank, again, is owned by the rich people, mostly by rich men. We reverse that too. Grameen Bank is owned by poor people, owned by poor women. And they sit in the board, they run the bank, and this is one of the best banks you can ever see anywhere. It's very well run, very well managed, and continues, but its board is constituted with the poor women. 100% women in the board. So this is the kind of bank we created. And as we go on with the banks in the beginning, we also see other problems in the poor families. I had no idea. I had no idea about banking, and I jumped into creating a bank. I see, how did I do that? Then I said, I think the best thing that ever happened to me in creating the bank is that I didn't know anything about banking. If I knew about banking, I will never be able to do that because my knowledge will always keep me drawn to the conventional way how it is done. So I kept saying that maybe sometimes it's a blessing not to know things. Then your mind is free. Then you can think about things in your own way. It's an empty space. You fill it up in your way of creating it. Because your knowledge can become a bondage. It pulls you down into a certain direction. You can't get out. The weight of your argument is so weighty that you can't break out of this. So it's good to forget about what you know sometimes, if you even know it. To think as if you are starting for the first time. Then reality comes around you and start doing things. So I use that all the time, that not knowing may be a blessing. Don't be afraid to do things just because you don't know it. Maybe you are doing the right thing. Other thing, following the same logic, same principles, always stuck on the wrong things. And nobody can get away from it because they are following the same rules and procedures. As a result, we created the world the way we have done, which is not a very good feeling that we get when we see the world how it is done. So we continued with the tradition of Grameen Bank expansion and so on. And we see wherever I go to the poor people, not only they are poor, they're also poor in health. And I started saying it goes together. If you're poor in health. You can't separate it. You cannot kind of take one out that, yes, she is poor but healthy. Very difficult. Because very definition of state of affairs that you have among the poor needs to create the conditions that you have to have very poor health. The first one, when we were very small at that time, I could go to families, meet them very frequently, talk to them to understand them. Whatever I'm doing, is it something useful to them? Do they need something else? What shocked me, every family I go, almost in every second family, I'll see a child who cannot see at night. He goes blind after sunset. And it's not one or two. You see all around you, children going blind or not being able to see at night. And it worried me. I said, I didn't understand that, why children have that. It's a kind of disease which will make them permanently blind or something. So I started talking to the doctors. Since I'm not a doctor, I don't know anything about health care as a policy for people. So I started talking to them. They said, well, this is called night blindness. I said, what is the cause? It is a serious disease that they cannot get out of it. No, it's a very simple thing. This is a vitamin A deficiency. I said, what should be done about it? Can they be cured? He said, of course they can be cured. It's very simple. You give them vitamin A tablets. If they take vitamin A tablets, everything will be done. Their eyesight will come back. Or you can ask them to eat vegetables, green vegetables, colored vegetables, and so on, which contains a lot of vitamin A. So I took the policy of going to the vegetables, because buying tablets is, again, pills, make them buy something, go to the store, which they may not feel comfortable. They don't have the money or ability to do that. They will try to save money. So growing vegetable could be an easy thing. So I opted for vegetable and tried to explain to them, look, you have to do this, etc., etc. It's not working. Then I thought maybe I should do something else. Why don't I bring the vegetable seed? Because some of them are saying, we don't have the seed. Well, how can we grow vegetable? We can't buy vegetable. It's expensive. So I said, okay, why don't I bring the seed to them so that they can start growing seeds? Then what I did, we made a 1 penny packet of seeds, of varieties of seed. Each packet is 1 penny. And as our staff go to collect money in the villages and so on, do the business, we give them the seed to sell. And since it's only 1 penny, people say, okay, let me try. And Bangladesh soil is a very fertile soil. You spread them and it grows. And it's a beautiful vegetable. They never saw such beautiful vegetables before. So they started feeding their children and said, if you have surplus, you can sell it in the market, or you can grow for market, but don't forget to feed your child with the vegetables. That's the most important thing. They accepted it. So our vegetable kind of in good demand, and we continued to expand our vegetable seed business. We created a side business of vegetable seeds. As Grameen Bank expanded, our seed business expanded. At one point, we became the largest seed seller in the whole country because everybody wants it. Even their neighbors want it who are not Grameen Bank borrower because they can grow. It looks very good. Seeds are good. And night blindness disappeared in the country. It didn't exist completely. So today you talk to people in Bangladesh about the night blindness, they will look at each other, they will know what the problem is. Then I look at it, I said, healthcare is not about doctors. You don't always need doctors. But as if healthcare has to be delivered by some doctors with their chamber and all the gadgets and so on. I said, you can go step by step, item by item, and you can address those issues. And one of the second thing that we did after the seed as it's growing, we looked at the sanitation situation of the people. They just go out everywhere. And I was trying to plead with them, look, it's not good, it spread diseases, and you should have a specific place, you have a latrine and so on. Nobody listened. Then out of desperation, we came out with a decision in Grameen Bank. We said, anybody who would like to join Grameen Bank, the first thing they have to do is to dig a hole and use it as a latrine. They can't go anywhere they want. They have to come back and use it. The existing borrowers, they didn't like it. Why should you insist on this? But the new borrowers, usually they come to the old borrowers, discuss, is it a good thing? Is it something they should do? The old borrowers, out of disgust or frustration, they say, okay, if you want to join Grameen Bank, why don't you go and dig a hole first? Because they won't talk to you without that hole. And the first question they will ask, have you dug up a hole for you? And then they will come and check. Then they will talk about the bank. And it caught up because publicity was going on by the existing borrowers in a negative sense, but it became a positive thing for us. And they come prepared to answer that question, and we go and inspect. And everybody was digging holes, using it. And we said, then we created a business out of it. We created a separate business to produce sanitary latrines, water seed latrines. We give them the loan. They go and buy the sanitary latrines, which is produced right in the village by the separate business that we created. And then they go and install it for you, and you have a sanitary latrine. When I say 8.5 million borrowers in Grameen Bank, these are 8.5 million families. So in Bangladesh, all these 8.5 million families have their sanitary latrine. And it's impacted on the non-Grameen families because the women in those families keep complaining to their men, look at even the beggar woman has a sanitary latrine. And I learned something. I didn't know about it, but I learned something. It's so harsh on women not to have a latrine. Men can go out anytime they want, anywhere they want. But for women, they cannot do that. They have to wait until the sun goes down. So it's not an easy thing to do. So the moment they saw the sanitary latrine, which is a kind of freedom for them, they can go out anytime they want. So that's the pressure created in the families after families. Bangladesh became a country which solved its sanitation problem way ahead of everybody else in the neighboring countries because of the tremendous amount of awareness and the need that was done. And we provided that through, nobody can say we don't have the money. We said we'll give you the loan. So we continued that. And we continued many other programs like that. And this has one basic kind of feature. Every business I created is a business to solve problem. And I had no intention of making money out of it. That became a kind of a signature policy of everything that I do. And every time I see a every time I see a problem, I create a business to solve it. And over time, I created more than 60 such companies in Bangladesh. Each one is focused on solving one particular problem. And many of them are health problems. But we continue to do that, expand that one after another. And people say, why do you create companies if you're not making money? I said, why? Is there any law in Bangladesh that you have to make money for yourself? Otherwise, you cannot open a company? I said, I create a company to solve problems. I have no intention of making money. You must be crazy. I said, okay, I'm crazy. So what? I'm sure there are other crazy people like me. They will do the same thing because this problem can be solved in a sustainable way so that money comes back, you can keep on expanding it. Then I thought, maybe I'm talking about something very different than conventionally people think about. Conventionally, people think about a business is to make money. That's what we are told in our textbooks. That's where our theories say that profit maximization is the goal of business. I said, yes, profit maximization for whom? For the person, the shareholders, or for the company to plow it back? All I'm doing, I'm making profit too in my business, but I plow it back. I don't take it because I'm not interested in making personal money. This is my choice. Nobody can force me. If somebody else likes it, let them do it too. I'm not forcing anybody. Then I started looking at things. I said, why people say that profit maximization is the mission of business? If you are in business, you have to keep on making money. Why business has to be so money-centric, so profit-centric? Is this the only way we can do business? Oh, it has to be self-interest driven. Yes, self-interest driven, that's fine. But is this the only way business can be done? Everyone has to be self-interest driven, meaning that you have to be gainer of this business? If you do that, then I'll say theoreticians who created all these ideas, they misrepresented human beings in theories. Because human beings are not money-making robots. Human beings are multidimensional, not single-dimensional. Somehow they interpreted human being as a single-dimensional. All they do in their lifetime is make money. And money becomes a passion, money becomes a habit, money becomes an addiction. And in the process, we destroy everything else. I said, that's a misrepresentation. Human beings are selfish, at the same time they are selfless. Selfishness has been adopted by the economics. Selflessness has been divorced from economics. I said, that's a mistake. Selflessness should be parallelly included in the business itself, in the economic world itself. So you create two kinds of business. Business to make money, and you continue to do that, and business to solve problems. Today, how do we solve our problems? We ask the government to solve it, first one, and the government say, yes, it's our responsibility to solve your problem of poverty, problem of healthcare, problem of this, housing, sanitation. Government has to solve it. Or NGOs should solve it. Foundations give the money, NGOs take the money, do the healthcare, do this, do that, do that. I said, that's fine. Charity is a wonderful idea. But I see a slight problem in charity. Charity money goes out, does the work, but it doesn't come back. It has one-time use of the money. What I'm doing, actually, I'm using the objective of the charity and put a business engine attached to it. Objective is the same, but the method is different. Once I put the engine of the business, it becomes very powerful. Social business money goes out, it does the work, and comes back. Then the same money has multiple, endless use. It becomes very powerful. So I said, that's what I'm talking about. We can create those businesses. Anybody can create those businesses. And particularly, all it needs is a creative idea, that's all. The total creative power of human being is so unlimited, so limitless. If we put all this creative power in creating social businesses to solve problems, these problems will disappear just like that. But we don't do that. We are using our creative power to make money. We are very creative when it comes to making money because that's the only creative power, only way we can use our creative power. They never told us that we can use creative power to solve problems. If they did, they said they can do it in a charity way, not in a business way. Business and solving problems somehow got divorced. So I'm trying to put it back. So I defined social business by saying it's a non-dividend company to solve human problems. That's what social business is all about. We created a lot of them ourselves. We created nationwide companies which works nationwide as a social business. We created solar energy company to bring solar energy in the villages because villages don't have electricity in Bangladesh. When we started that 20 years back, 70% of the people of Bangladesh didn't have any electricity. So imagine in this day and age, people living without electricity, not just few, 160 million people, 70% of that, that's the kind of life we have. We said, why can't we solve this problem? I thought, now we hear about solar energy, why don't we bring solar energy in the villages? Everybody said solar energy is too complicated, village people will not understand. I said, they don't have to understand anything. They don't understand how the electricity works, but if you give them the evaporator, it's okay. So you're saying that they have to understand all the science of solar energy? No. All they know, it gives you electricity, that's all. And I created a company, solar energy company, a small company, tried to sell solar home system because I have to do it in a social business way. I cannot give them free solar system. At that time, governments were distributing free solar cells, solar panels, and so on, trying to popularize. I said, that will not work. Very soon it will disappear because government cannot just go on doing it free for everybody else. So I said, we have to create a social business to do that. Selling one solar home system per month was a big challenge. Then selling 5 solar home systems per month became the next challenge. We took that challenge and make it happen. Moved to 10 solar home systems per month. And we came to a stage 20 years later, we are selling 1,000 solar home systems per day. And it became a nationwide system. We reached 2 million homes with solar energy today. So we run that business. It's a nationwide business. It runs. We have solar energy in the villages and so on. And many other NGOs and others participated, companies created to sell solar energy in the villages because everybody knows now solar energy is a popular item. So this is the kind of social business we are talking about. We didn't create that solar energy company to make money. We could have made a lot of money out of that. But that's not our intention. Our intention is to solve the problem and bring the money back so that we can plow it back, expand it, and so on. So that's how we created healthcare companies. Luckily, big companies came to us. We had no idea that they will be interested in social business. They said, why don't we create a social business with you? I said, okay, if you want it. So we created joint ventures with big companies. One such big company was Danone. It's a French company, yogurt company, Danone, as it's known here, to produce yogurt for addressing the malnutrition of the children of Bangladesh. 48% of the children of Bangladesh are malnourished. It's a terrible thing to have malnourishment in your children because they don't grow mentally or physically. So you are not fully human being anymore because your nutrition was not enough at your childhood. So I said, that's not a good thing for a nation to grow up with. So we said, we must solve it. So we created this company to bring nutrition for the children, put all the micronutrients in the yogurt, made it very cheap so that poor families can afford it. We continue to do that. Now it's a big company. It's selling yogurt in villages and the urban areas and so on, address the malnutrition issue. So this is the social business. Danone doesn't want to take any profit according to our principle. They agree with the other. We have joint ventures with Veolia. We have joint ventures with Intel Corporation. Intel Corporation joint venture is making a smart bangle. It's a high-powered technology as an ornament the women use because of the air quality in the room that she cooks, in the kitchen that she cooks, because fume gets into it, smoke gets into it, and respiratory diseases come to the women. One of the major cause of death in Bangladesh for women is respiratory disease because of the cooking continuously. She's inhaling it. Particularly for pregnant women, it's so difficult because not only she's inhaling, her baby is also inhaling as she grow up with this impact of this having smoke in the room, continuously inhaling. So this bangle, it gives it an alarm signal, a continuous alarm. When the level of smoke and the fume gets above a certain level, then it gives a voice message, run out of your room, open your window and so on, etc., etc. And it works, and people like it. And now they're adding other messages into this bangle. If you're a pregnant woman, it says this is your 10th week of your pregnancy. You'll experience this kind of symptoms in your body. Don't be worried, this is normal. But if you have something like this or this, you press this button and we'll get in touch with you, meaning this is a beginning of a risky pregnancy. So we want to identify the risky pregnancies because about 11% of our pregnancies in Bangladesh are risky pregnancies. And as a result, mother and the child die. We don't know which one is the risky pregnancy, so we cannot address them because there is no system to find solutions to this problem. So we thought identifying would make it easy, at least we'll pay attention to it, how much we can do so that maternal death, children death become lower and lower as we go around. So this is another social business. So we continue to do that. One item that I should draw attention to, in the Grameen Bank, we started giving idea that the children of Grameen families must go to school because their parents, the women that we talk about, they're illiterate. They never went to school. Their husbands never went to school. So we said the children must go to school. So we made it as part of our policy of the bank to make sure all the children go to school. And we make elaborate preparation so that we don't miss any child. Every child goes to school. It's as serious as our banking part. We took it as our banking operation that the child must be in school. And ultimately we succeeded in having all the children in school. But then year after year they went to school. They come to the college level. They want to go to the college, but they have no money to go to the college. Before the college, education is free, they can afford it, but the college begins, you have to pay. So we said, okay, don't worry about it. If you want to go to the college, we will give you the education loan. So we gave them education loan. So we have education loan with bachelor degree, master degree, even PhDs. So we have hundreds of thousands of them coming out with degrees and so on. Then the problem we created ourselves turned out to be something else. They keep complaining we have no jobs in the country. What about jobs? You guys sent us to school, we got to school, we get our degrees, but no jobs. So I was worried about it. How do you answer this question? So I made up my mind. I turned around, started addressing them on this issue. The moment they will mention that we don't have a job, I said, who asked you to have a job? They got very puzzled that I'm asking them who asked them to have a job. They have no answer because they don't know who asked them. I said, did your teacher tell you to have a job? No answer. Did your book tell you to have a job? No answer. I said, remember, job is an obsolete idea. It should have been over in the last century. Somehow it sneaked in and came to you. So get rid of it. Never even think about it. Your mind should be free from jobs. Tell yourself, I'm not a job seeker, I'm a job creator. And behave like a job creator. Act like a job creator. They get very puzzled. What is he? I don't have a job, now he asked me to become a job creator? And some will say, well, how can I create a job? I don't have any money, I don't know what to do, I don't know any business. They never teach us how to start a business. I said, when did your mother got into Grameen Bank? Some say 20 years back, some say 15 years back, some say 25 years back. What is the amount of money she took as her first loan? Some remember it, some don't even remember it. It's way back. Some say maybe $30, $30, $40. That's about the loan she took. And she's still borrowing from Grameen Bank. Yes, she runs a big business out of this bank loan. I said, if your illiterate mother can start a business with $40, what good is your education? Why don't you get rid of your education? Just go back to your mother, learn from her how to be yourself. And it's a very simple thing. And you tell me that you don't have an idea. How could your illiterate mother have the idea? She had an idea that continued, changed her idea again, but she continued, didn't give up. If your illiterate mother can do all these things, you should be ashamed of yourself and your education, which destroyed your thinking process, took away the natural thing that you had, like your mother had. That's the natural thing. You destroyed that part. I said, we have to eliminate that education system which makes you to work for somebody else. I said, human beings are not born to work for somebody else. Human beings are basically go-getters. They are problem solvers. But somehow we created a world and convinced ourselves that we have to find a job. We have to have a piece of paper from the university or college or whatever it is. The more renowned the college is, the more renowned the university is, I have a better salary to get or a better company to work for. I said, that's not what the human life is all about. Human life is all about creating a world that they want to live in, not just work for somebody else. So why don't you go out and do things? This is good as a lecture, but it doesn't work for them. They said, what do we do now? I said, okay, why don't you go back and come back with a business idea? Create a business plan, come back to us. And we created a social business fund, and we start investing in their companies, in their businesses, whatever little business they want to do. And now young people are coming, boys or girls come with business ideas one after another, and they learn from each other. Now hundreds of them, thousands of them come. We keep on investing. We say, this is not a loan that we are giving you. We are your partner. We invest together. You do run the business, I do the investing part of it. And you make it successful. When you're successful, you return the money that I gave you, exactly the same amount. With social business, we don't want to make profit out of you. Our job is to solve your problem and put you on the orbit so that you can move on. And now they feel very comfortable. And we tell them, look, if your business fails, that's not your problem. Because we work together, it's our fault too. We are together. So we will work together how to overcome that problem. Because businesses always will have problems. Businesses are not something you go there and everything is dandy. Everything you have to work together. So now they do that. So now we have opened the door. We said everybody can become an entrepreneur. I keep saying that human beings are all entrepreneurs. This is in their DNA. Somehow we twisted it around, make them to work somebody else. All our creative power are kind of given away. Because if you start working for somebody else, your mind is not something that they want. They want their mind to get into your mind so that you can work for them. I said, that's not a good process to go through. You be yourself and address all the things that you need to do. You create a world of yourself. And that's the world that you decide what kind of world you want. And create your own destinations, what destination you want to go to, and make it happen. The system that we have is not going to take us too far. Look at the wealth concentration. All the wealth of the world is in the hands of few people. Oxfam keeps us reminding every year that so many people own half of the world's wealth and so on, et cetera, et cetera. And you'll notice every year when they announce that how many people own more wealth than the bottom half of the world's population, the number becomes smaller and smaller. 10 years back, it was 380 people owning more than half the wealth, more wealth than half the world's the bottom people own. This year, it was 62 people. So 382, now it came back to 60 in 10 years later. What will be the number 5 years later? It won't be 62 anymore. It will be probably 10, maybe 12 or something. Or someday it will be 1, because that's the direction we're heading for. And now today they said 1% of the world's population owns 99% of the world's wealth. And you have been talking about 1/10 of 1% in this nation, in this United States, own 90% of the wealth of this nation. Today is true. But tomorrow, it won't be 0.1. It will be less than that, half of that, owning 99% of the wealth of the nation and so on. Because this is what we built into the system we created. It's not they're bad people. I'm not complaining about them. Simply, system that we created produces a system which pushes all the wealth to the top. So bottom remains empty. Imagine out of 7.5 billion people, 99% of them owning only 1% of the global wealth. That's not the kind of thing that we want to say that we did create a beautiful world and so ourselves. So we have to challenge everything that we do. Is our financial system working for people? No, that financial system is actually sucking machine. It's a kind of taking the wealth, pushing it upwards. That's it. Again, it's not the fault of the individual person who works in it. That's the way system has been developed. So undo that. We can create a system where everybody can be included in the financial system, like an unemployed person, the way I was just explaining. And an unemployed person cannot go to a bank, give me money, I want to start a business. They say, get out of this place. Why? This cannot be done. We are doing it. We have no problem. We have no cases of where people disappeared with that money or something. We have very elaborate system. We built it up. Anybody can do that. And why should any young person, imagine one young person with education, or whatever he has done, a creative person, sit idle. Why? Because he's not been hired by anybody. Does it make sense? It doesn't make sense to me. Why anybody should sit idle because somebody has not hired me? Did it happen when we were in the caves? That's where we are coming from. Did we send out a job application from cave number 5 to cave number 10? Do you have a job for me? And I'm sitting idle because nobody gave me a job. We didn't do that. We just went out. We became hunters, we became gatherers. That's how we survived. It's a long million years of history. Suddenly we said, no, we have to have a job. Otherwise, we don't lift our fingers. I said, what is this idea that they put into our head, that the whole body, whole mind become paralyzed? I'm not worth anything anymore. It's kind of wrong thinking completely. Human being is here right from the day we are here. We are people who can do things ourselves. We don't have to wait for anybody. We have to build a system to support us, not put us down. That's the problem. So, as I said, we have to have a destination to take us someplace. So we have to put these figures and rearrange everything that we do. Look at it differently than we have been doing. Because we continue the same way. We produce the same wealth concentration getting worse every year. Same problems that we see about the healthcare and everything that we talk about get more expensive, more difficult to get to it. It cannot be done. So if you have to have a different kind of world, we have to redesign the thinking process ourselves, the framework that we have ourselves, so that we get there. So I define my destination so that I know I have to get there. We have to rework everything and find our own way, like we did the Grameen Bank is a good example. Everything is reversed, and then we could do that, and do it very well. Everywhere it works. Even in the United States, it worked beautifully. So the goal that we set, destination that we set, is 3 zeros. And that's the destination for me, and I hope others can have their own destination. First zero is zero poverty. Zero is artificial. It doesn't belong to human being. Human beings are as creative as anybody else. They are not, there's nothing wrong with human beings. Simply system didn't provide the facilities and opportunities for the people. They become poor people. That's what, so we removed those barriers, which denied them all the access to everything they do. So we create a world where not a single person will be a poor person. It's a doable proposition. It's not something fancy. We have the MDG goal number 1, 0, taking it to half, reduce poverty by half, which Bangladesh has achieved 2 years before even the 2015 target. We did it in the middle of 2013. We brought the poverty to half the point. And we set our goal to 2030 to bring it to 0. It's possible because the way it reduces poverty, we can easily reach that. Now the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goal number 1, is to reduce poverty by 0 by 2030. It's a doable proposition. So second 0 is a 0 unemployment. Nobody in the world should be unemployed. The whole word unemployment itself is the first one to become unemployed. It doesn't have any meaning anymore. Why should anybody be unemployed? There's no reason for it. So how to get that, how to create the supportive system so that every individual can become a creative person and express himself or herself in her own way. And we come to that level that question of unemployment doesn't arise. Nobody sits idle. Everybody's busy doing things. Third 0 is 0 net carbon emission, which is well discussed, and hopefully after Paris deal, we don't have any controversy left. We focus our attention, make it happen. And by the middle of 2030, 2040, worst comes to worst, 2050, we have to do that. 0 net carbon emission is possible. So concentrate. How do we reach it? These are the things that we gave. It's a technology will make it happen. It's a social business idea which will make it happen. Is the energy of the people in themselves. Focusing on that will make it happen. And that day, we create the foundation. When we achieve those 3 zeros, we set up the foundation of a new civilization. A civilization which we built on human values, not on money. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.